Morning. Before we start tonight's program, this is a reminder that this episode will address various topics related to addiction and alcoholism, amongst other things, and we will have a reminder about multiple sclerosis. These may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion, as always, is advised. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and/or mental health regime. If you're looking for options with respect to mental health and substance abuse, contact the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. The service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it's a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Importantly, if you're feeling suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. Those resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And then I wouldn't never be complete with this disclaimer unless I talk about something that has been part of my life the last 18 months and, quite frankly, the last 11 years. The National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such flare-ups disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867. Or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Also, a reminder, we are still raising money for the National MS Society through a fundraising page that we created for the Walk MS 2022 over in Media, Pennsylvania in early May. It is at rebrand.ly/adventure to a cure. Again, rebrand.ly/adventure to a cure. This fundraising page will be continuing to take donations through September 30th. And it goes without saying that I appreciate everybody who's learned more about multiple sclerosis and demyelination through the National MS Society by either going to the National MS Society page or being part of Adventure to a Cure. For all of you who have donated money to this amazing organization, realize that you have touched over the 1 million people in this country who have multiple sclerosis in so many ways. And we appreciate all of you. And on that, let's begin. Sobriety. It has been a very important part of this story. And ever since May of 2019, I've been sober. In fact, Monday, I will have been sober for 3 years. So tonight, we're going to talk about my sobriety journey and being nearly 3 years sober and sort of the life lessons that I've learned in this entire part of the story. We'll talk about that and we'll take your questions and comments because this is the Venture Forward. was my gin of choice for the martinis I drank. That's going bye-bye too. Let me do this live just to make sure everybody understands what's going on here. Files open. Bottles poured. This has not been easy. You would think it was easy because I haven't had a drink in 400 and some odd days, 470 days, but this is hard. These are chapters of my life that I'm getting rid of because I knew how much they were hurting me. They were definitely hurting me, and that was a video I took back in 2020 when I poured out all the alcohol that was in my closet and in my kitchen. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little while, but let me say hello to all of you because I am John Venturini. I am a recovering addict of overeating, obesity, compulsive gambling, and alcoholism. And it's an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter for what is a very important episode. This is something we talked about before on the show, but every day that passes, one day at a time, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, it's something that I am very much in realization of what's going on. So, that said, we are going to talk about me nearly being 3 years sober. I will be 3 years sober on Monday, but it's good to see all of you tonight. You'd think that in this journey, sobriety and getting off of the drink and drinking would be step number one. Well, it would be a little bit of a difficult sort of hill to climb without the fact that I was 480 pounds. So at 480 pounds, obviously my weight and my physical movement was of paramount concern. Not being able to walk more than 5 feet, 10 feet. Certainly that was the plan of attack, to try to start figuring out what's going on upstairs that made me feel solace in eating. But let's face it, I was seeking solace in drinking as well, as much as I was seeking solace in gambling. But nevertheless, we'll talk more about that in mere seconds. Let's see who wins the door prize on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And that belongs to Jamie Rose on YouTube, who says, "Hey everyone, good evening, Jamie. Hope you are doing well." We also have Marilyn on YouTube, who says, "Hi, JV and Jamie," with 3 waves and 3 purple hearts. Well, Marilyn, 3 waves and 3 blue hearts back at you. Hope you're doing well this evening. We also have Dr. Elo, the live streaming god over on YouTube, who says, "Hello, Elo." And I say, you say goodbye. I say Elo. Elo, Elo. Hope you're doing well. Also on YouTube, we have Laura Williams, who says, "Hello all and congratulations, JV, on 3 years. Or can't stay tonight, but we'll catch the replay." Laura, I'm glad you're here, even in replay. Good to see you as always. On Twitch, we have someone by the name of Brave who says, "Hello." Well, good evening to you. Hope you are doing well. And then, let's see. Okay, that's what we have as far as highs and hellos and whatnot. Let's talk about the rundown for tonight. Oh, we also have one more on Facebook. That'd be the co-host of VF Talks, Matt Haas, who says, "Hey." Well, Matt, I say, "Hey" back at you. Hope you're doing well. Let's talk about what we're talking about tonight. We're going to start off with a passage out of Language of Letting Go. I think this one is a long one, but a very apropos one for tonight's talk about loving ourselves unconditionally. Then we'll talk about the turning point in the journey of attacking obesity, but also realizing that alcoholism was a major problem all this life and figuring that there is no more utility for that in this life of mine. The bottom and the go forward, that was basically the resonating point in all of this. We'll talk about affirmations that I've learned over the time. We'll also talk about 12 steps, as we do from time to time. And then at the end, we will have basically a sober reminder. And when I say that, it's in air quotes because I'm going to talk about a poem I wrote nearly 2 years ago as I was going down this journey named Sober. And we'll talk about that tonight as well. So let's get at it. This is episode 4.27 not on May 24th. Of course, you think I would fix these things. I did not. May 26th. See, live editing on a show. There you go. May 26th, 2022. Episode 4.27. Nearly 3 years sober. If I haven't learned anything, I definitely am holding true to the phrase progress, not perfection. And when we talk about the affirmations later on, that's certainly one of them. And me live editing the date on a slide should tell you all I feel about that. So anyhow, let's talk about language of letting go for the entry for May 25th, which was yesterday. Loving ourselves unconditionally. It's something that I think with respect to sobriety, with respect to what we are facing with the 3 addictions that I'm facing, but others. We can also talk about the need to love myself unconditionally, even in the grips of multiple sclerosis as well. It's something that is very resonant for tonight's talk, so let's get at it. Love yourself into health and a good life of your own. Love yourself into relationships that work for you and the other person. Love yourself into peace, happiness, joy, success, and contentment. Love yourself into all that you always wanted. We can stop treating ourselves the way others treated us if they behaved in a less than healthy, desirable way. If we have learned to see ourselves critically, conditionally, and in a diminishing and punishing way, well, it's time to stop. Other people have treated us that way, but it's even worse to treat ourselves that way now. Loving ourselves may seem a bit foreign, even foolish at times. People may accuse us of being selfish. We don't have to believe them. People who love themselves are truly able to love others and let others love them. People who love themselves and hold themselves in high esteem are those who give the most, contribute the most, and love the most. How do we love ourselves? Well, by forcing it at first, by faking it if necessary, by acting as if, by working as hard at loving and liking ourselves as we have at not liking ourselves. Explore what it means to love yourself. Do things for yourself that reflect compassionate, nurturing self-love. Embrace and love all of yourself, past, present, and future. Forgive yourself quickly and as often as necessary. Encourage yourself. Tell yourself good things about yourself. If we think and believe negative ideas, get them out in the open as quickly and as honestly as possible so we can replace those beliefs with better ones. Pat yourself on the back when necessary. Discipline yourself when necessary. Ask for help, for time, but most importantly, ask for what you need. Sometimes give yourself treats. Do not treat yourself like a pack mule. Always push and drive harder. You don't need to do that. You gotta learn to be good to yourself. Choose behaviors with preferable consequences. Treating yourself is definitely one. Learn to stop your pain, even when that means making difficult decisions. Do not unnecessarily deprive yourself. Sometimes give yourself what you want just because you want it. Stop explaining and justifying yourself. When you make mistakes, let them go. We learn, we grow, and we learn some more. And through it all, we love ourselves. We work at it, and then we work at it some more. One day we'll wake up, look in the mirror, and find that loving ourselves has actually become habitual. We're now living with a person who gives and receives love because that person loves him or herself. Self-love will take hold and become a guiding force in our life. Today, I will work at loving myself. I will work as hard at loving myself as I have at not liking myself. Help me let go of self-hate and behaviors that reflect not liking myself. Help me replace those with behaviors that reflect self-love. Today, God, help me hold myself in high esteem. Help me know I'm lovable and capable of giving and receiving love. And that is the language of letting go. Very, very choice words. Without question, very choice words. If you think about everything we've talked about on this show, we'd be remiss not understanding or fully being cognizant of the fact that we have to treat ourselves with respect. There's no point not to. It's that old airplane adage again, right? Comes up on almost every episode. If the cabin pressure goes out and the masks fall, you have to cover yourself first before you take care of the rest of the row. Isn't that the truth? We have to love ourselves. We have to respect ourselves in order for us to fully love and respect anyone else. So, needless to say, that resonates. Some comments. Sarah joining us on YouTube says, congrats, Marilyn and JV. Good to see you, Sarah, as always. And Jamie saying hello to Elo, Marilyn, and Laura. And we got Rich Vibes on YouTube, who on YouTube who says, hey all. Hope you're doing well this evening, Rich, for sure. Let's talk about the turning point. I mean, if I go back to the side panel real quick, I mean, there is a turning point in this journey, without question. The turning point in this journey wasn't at the beginning of the diet journey. It happened a little bit later on. But in order for us to understand the bottom, we have to understand what the turning points were. You're talking about someone who was morbidly obese of a phase 4 caliber at 480 pounds of a BMI that was way, way, way too much, almost 70. You're also talking to someone who imbibed every chance he got, and when things got bad and when things got high pressured, one of the ways he knew how to take care of himself was to drink, which is not taking care of yourself. It's basically shuffling yourself underneath the rug and slowly killing yourself. Outside of the compulsive gambling, outside of the overeating, the alcoholism was definitely something that was marching me to a very perilous fate. I look at my family. I've talked on, not in the last episode, but 2 episodes before, about my father and how much he was drinking for a long time and knowing what that did to him. I mean, certainly was going down the same road. So at some point, if I was going to take this journey seriously and realize there's got to be forces that have been forcing me to basically overeat and drink and gamble, I had to explore that through therapy, through journaling, through meditation, you name it. That was part of it. I think also having a nervous breakdown in the middle of Raleigh-Durham Airport in February of 2019 certainly was a calling card, wasn't it? So the person you see in that picture is certainly not the person that you see in this panel off to the left. Different person. So I go on this diet. I realize I can't walk more than 5 or 10 feet. I'm starting to lose the weight. I know the mechanics. Lost the weight 2 times previously. This is going to be attempt number 3. But in the first 3 months of the diet, I was still drinking. In the last week prior to me not drinking, I drank every single night that week. And it took a night of jalapeno cucumber margaritas, bourbon, Manhattans, and red wine for me to have a very eventful and scary overnight. As I referred to it in the past, at 3:45 in the morning, I had a reversal of fortune. One that left my eyes bloodshot for about a week, left me nauseous for days. Bloodshot in my left eye for 7 days, nauseous for 5. And could you think I had alcohol poisoning? Maybe. I never fully got tested for that. But there was something definitely wrong. Enough was enough. If I'm going to go so far as to track my food every day and try to take a better standard of life, why the heck was I still drinking? Was I not addressing everything that was going on around me? Was I not addressing what I was feeling? Was I not addressing the things that were bothering me and that needed to be taken care of? Yes to all of that. Absolutely yes to all of that. So, needless to say, May 30th, 2019 was the last night I drank. There was no point for me to continue drinking. There was no point to keep a bottle of bourbon next to the coffee machine. So, needless to say, that's where we were. That's exactly where we were. If we take a look at what I ate that day, because I was tracking food, I was going to lose it. I went to a Mexican restaurant not too far away from here. Had queso fundido, had tacos, had wings, you name it. I guess it was my cheat night. Don't know what the heck was going on. 5 margaritas. So basically a pitcher of jalapeno cucumber margaritas. All went to me. Didn't share it. Absolutely not sharing that by any sort of sense of needing to share that. There was wine. Split a bottle of wine when I got home. There was plenty of bourbon. There were a couple of Manhattans. I was drinking everything. Everything that was basically the things I drank. That's what I drank. Now you think about me at about 440 pounds, you know that I had a large calorie allowance to begin with. And even that night I was 2,500 calories over. So that goes to show you how much between dinner and lunch and breakfast that day, I definitely wasn't on top of things. Was I tracking? Yes. Was I heading somewhere down the road? Yeah. But I wasn't doing it effectively. Not by any stretch of the imagination. So I had to get rid of it all. But getting rid of it all wasn't that day. And it certainly wasn't in 2019. It happened the year later, in September of 2020. I think I was so disgusted about the way I felt, I didn't feel the need to do it right then and there. But then you bring up the things that we were dealing with the last 2 years and change. I had to. There was no utility of having all that alcohol in my closet. There was no utility of having any wine or bourbon or gin in this house. None whatsoever. So, you see a bottle of Sauv Blanc there, you see a gin, you see a bottle of other liqueurs. You know, I used to drink a double espresso with Zambuca. You see Zambuca in that left panel? Yeah. It's all gone. There was no utility for those bottles to stay in this house. None whatsoever. I think about the work that I've done to get to where I am. It's been hard. It's been very hard. But why have the temptation? Why have the temptation when I'm not possible to go to meetings and certainly don't know exactly what to do? It definitely was a bottom, for sure. But there's a go forward as well, right? It's definitely a go forward in the sense that I can't drink anymore. I absolutely cannot drink anymore. I want to show you something real quick here in the sense that I kind of glanced over it, but I want to go back to this slide. In the sense that if you look at the weight graph on the far right, there was that period between January of 19 and May of 19. Now, I had plenty of weight to lose, but it wasn't coming off quickly because I was drinking. And I was still having 1 or 2 nights a week where I was just not doing the right thing here. So I definitely needed to do something. You take a very horrible night like May 30th, 2019, where it had residual effect for at least a good week and change. That's a bottom. That's absolutely a bottom. I'm just sitting here thinking about exactly why this was an issue. Not back in 2011, the second time I lost the weight. Second time I lost the weight, I did stop drinking for a little while. And then I was at a party and I started drinking, and that didn't help things one iota either. And then we go through the 2010s and I was drinking. Was it compulsive? No. When things got really stressful, it was. So I had to do something. But living a life that was sober, living a life where I remained steadfast to my diet, trying to keep the proverbial train on the tracks, well, as I said, one day at a time, right? It builds. It definitely builds. So there are things I need to basically keep in mind, adages and affirmations I need to keep in mind as I was going through this. Now, I say that there wasn't recovery groups in 20. There definitely was. They were online, because who was going to a traditional brick and mortar AA group? Well, no one. Everything was in lockdown, was in yellow or red. So I'm very thankful to, Sober James, Recovering Addict, Real Recovery with Nicole, everybody I was talking to in 20, and realizing that there are people that are in this boat. There are many people in this boat. But we get stronger with our community. We get stronger with each other. So that was very much an important thing that I gravitated to. Outside of live streaming and trying to tell my story, outside of the people I met there, the recovery groups have been very important. In all of that, there are affirmations. There are things I can keep in mind. This is from SoberLink. Here are 10 to think about. Every day, in every way, I am getting better. And we moved past May 30th of 2019. We moved past a nervous breakdown at Raleigh-Durham Airport in February of 2019. Every day, in every way, I am getting better. I can, and I will. It's another one. I will be a better me. Because why not treat yourself with the most love you can? The love begins inside, doesn't it? I will be a better me. I am worthy of great things. We are all worthy of great things. But when you're knee deep in the grips of addiction and compulsion, we seem to forget about that. I like the person I'm becoming. I definitely feel that way now. I didn't feel that way in early 2019. That's for sure. I was someone who was very much barely hanging on, barely living. As I said before, slowly killing himself. All my problems have a solution. All of our problems have a solution. Something to think about. If we work at it, there's a solution for the things that are bothering us. Hang on one sec. I press on because I believe in my path. Hang on one second. The past has no power over me anymore. And the further I get away from it, the more that is resonant, the more that is true. I have many strengths. I have to work at these things sometimes, but I absolutely have many strengths. And, lastly, I oversee my life story. Those are 10 affirmations that I've gravitated to. There are others that I keep on this board over here as well. We can talk about that in a minute. But part of the work that we do outside of journaling, outside of meditating, outside of therapy, is believing in ourselves. Using adages that basically we gravitate to. These are definitely 10 of them that work towards that. Because at the end of the day, nothing changes if nothing changes. Sobriety is a journey, not a destination. It works if you work it. We're responsible for the effort, not the outcome, remember. Progress, not perfection as well. Something I've gravitated to an awful lot. Meeting makers make it. For us that are in recovery groups, meeting makers absolutely make it. You have not because you ask not. If there's something that is really bothering us inside, we have to gravitate to that. You wonder why you haven't gone anywhere. You haven't asked for it. You have not because you ask not. And then lastly, be grateful for the opportunity in every single moment, because every moment is indeed a gift. Every moment is indeed a gift. Sarah over on YouTube says, I like this quote, and she says, how would I live if I were exactly what was needed to heal the world? Rachel Remen. That's a good one. That's a very good one. I think I'm going to bring that up for one more second, in a sense that how would I live if I were exactly what was needed to heal the world? It is definitely something where it gives anyone who reads that quote, it gives Rachel Remen, who wrote the quote, a reason to say, hey, I am here to live the best life I possibly can. We have to live for ourselves first and foremost. If we don't do that, then we're not doing the best job we can in this journey, in this experience called life. So we must never lose sight of that. Jamie says, love all the quotes. Yeah, I do too. I absolutely do. I think the other thing that is worth mentioning is I go back to the rundown real quick. Is a sense in all of that, there is a question about steps and basically realizing that there is steps and affirmations that we must consider in trying to be our best selves. Not only living the life, but also believing the life and preaching the life and letting others grow based on what we learned. Education, I'm not saying necessarily being pedagogical or being a teacher, but the more that we share and bestow our knowledge upon others, the stronger we become. So it's part of the story. Before I go to the steps real quick, Elo says, JV, you're an example for many people who fight to get off of alcohol addiction. That alone gives you more than a purpose to continue your journey. I am so proud of you, my friend. Hashtag keep walking. Elo, thank you, my friend. Thank you, bro. And thank you. I absolutely needed to see that. You're a great guy. And I'm very thankful that our paths crossed over the last 2 years. You're an incredible guy, Dr. Elo. Appreciate it. Big time. Steps. These are the generalized steps. AA has a specific set of steps that are basically the gold standard, but you go to any sort of anonymous group, whether it's AA or Overeaters Anonymous, OA, or Gamblers Anonymous, GA, Narcotics Anonymous, NA, even Codependence Anonymous, CODA. They all have a form of the 12 steps. And we kind of touched upon this on the last episode, but let's go through it real quickly as far as what the 12 steps are. 1. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Decided to turn our will and our lives over to the care of the universe as we understood it. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to the universe, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have the universe remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly ask the universe to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with the universe as we understood it, praying only for knowledge of their will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Those, when we talk about 12-step programs, are indeed the 12 steps. The 12 steps take work. People have journals upon journals of the step work that they do, and it's a continuous process. You just don't do the steps and you're done with it. There's a continuous reflection, a continuous sort of reanalysis of what's going on, because it is a living, breathing document, as voluminous as it may be. So the steps are very much important. We grow from these steps. We grow from these sort of constructs. Whether the question is alcoholism, whether the question is overeating, whether the question is gambling or narcotics or whatever it is, we gravitate to these steps. Not to say that step work is the only way to recover. There is smart recovery as well, which is a form of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. But for all intents and purposes, the step work is still the gold standard. And many therapists that you work with will gravitate to the steps in one iota or another. So, just something to think about. Back in May of 2020, right around the time I became 1 year sober, I wrote a poem. Here I am going down this road, tackling the overeating, obesity, tackling sobriety. I yet at that point tackled the compulsive gambling to a certain degree. I'd say at that point of the journey, I was about a month into the compulsive gambling battling, because that started in April of 2020. But here I am trying to put everything on paper, and it's something I've shared on the show before, but it's something I definitely want to talk about tonight, in that of being sober. So, sober, as written on May 29th, 2020. Not being able to buckle my seatbelt makes me sober. Not being able to use the restroom on an airplane makes me sober. Not being able to walk more than 10 feet without laboring to breathe makes me sober. Not being able to fit into a pair of 62-inch jeans makes me sober. Not being able to sit in a booth at a restaurant makes me sober. Not being able to have just one drink or one burger makes me sober. Not being able to concentrate due to brain fog makes me sober. Not being able to sleep well at night makes me sober. But not being able to enjoy time with anyone makes me sober. Not being able to make sense of this pandemic makes me sober. Think about the time I wrote this, right? Not being able to understand why humanity has turned makes me sober. Not being able to fully account for my old addictions makes me sober. Not being able to fully take off this 17-year-old Band-Aid makes me sober. Not being able to hug my friends and be with them makes me sober. Not being able to be with someone that loves me and for whom I love makes me sober. And definitely, not being able to fully ascertain what the future looks like makes me sober. Not being able to feel secure in my own home makes me sober. Not being able to feel certain about the world makes me sober. And yet I am. 3 years ago, today, nearly today, I stopped drinking and have lost a lot of weight. 3 years ago, today I realized that watching what I was eating was far from enough. 3 years ago, today, I started to really work at what was driving me to do what I was doing for so long. 3 years ago, today, I said enough was enough. And now we all have to say, enough is enough. Humanity needs to reign supreme. We must love each other, take care of each other, be patient with one another, be understanding of one another, and more than just exist with one another. If we don't, then there is nothing, and there is no one. That is truly sober. In light of the events of the last couple days, think about that. We can do better. We have to do better. Humanity and ourselves basically are dependent on it. Love yourself always, but when you love yourself fully, you can love others. That is the most important piece of this all. 3 years sober and still plenty to learn in this life. And that's why this journey is truly an amazing one. As much as life itself is a very amazing journey. Couple of previews for the next couple episodes rather. Tomorrow we'll have VF Talks at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, where we'll have a conversation about anything and everything. And then for a season finale, 1 week from tonight, I'm going to answer some questions that are frequently asked about this journey. The things that I've learned through battling the weight, battling the alcoholism, battling the gambling, and dealing with multiple sclerosis. If you have any additional questions you want to ask me in advance of that show, by all means, please email me. I'm at theventureforward@gmail.com. Once again, theventureforward@gmail.com. I'll tackle your questions, but also the questions that have been frequently asked through the last 4 seasons of this show, but also this journey. So we will do that 1 week from tonight. And I think on that, I'll say what I say at the end of every Venture Forward in VF Talks. Stay safe, stay sane, stay strong, stay sober. You're worth it. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific for VF Talks, right here on the Venture Forward. Have a wonderful night. Take care of yourselves. I love you all, and fly, be free.